Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be sharing about a program called Excelerate Spanish. I'm going to be reviewing the Excelerate Spanish streaming subscription for levels 1 and 2. This is an online subscription. You can go in, they're pre-recorded videos. You can watch anytime you would like. And so we mostly did level 1. I kind of peeked at level 2 a little bit to see what it was like. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and show you kind of the inside of the program, see what it looks like, and talk about how we used it.
Okay, I'm going to start here at the home screen. It's really basic, really easy to maneuver around. So we have access to Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. So I'm going to go ahead and start in Spanish 1. That's where we were the whole time. My daughter has zero experience with foreign language besides, a few little vocabulary words we've covered here and there. So we started with the very first lesson. There are 24 lessons in level 1 and 24 lessons in level 2. The level 1 lessons lasted about 30 minutes, and I looked ahead, and the level 2 lessons last around 45 minutes. So that's one difference between the two levels. So I've kind of got some screenshots from some lessons. So the teacher, the setting is in a home. It's like a little dining room that's converted into a classroom. As you can see, she's standing in front of a class of about 8 or 9 students. She writes the vocabulary words on the board. She pronounces them several times and then says the English word. And then she also attaches a motion. Here you can see she's doing the motion for bus. It's like she's driving the bus. This is called TPR, which is total physical response. I found it really interesting because I teach online to kids in another country. I teach English, and we are required to use TPR when we're teaching them because it is shown to help the student retain information and understand what you're saying. So it's basically just a motion that goes along with the word. So she uses this in all of her lessons and throughout the entire thing. So the very first lesson I thought was kind of odd because it was talking about the bus stop, which is something, we will never have a need for, probably. So that was interesting to me. But so she has this entire skit laid out. She introduces the vocabulary and she goes through it. And throughout the lesson, so she does the motions and she encourages the students to do the motions along with her. This helps them remember. And my girl was a little skeptical about that at first. She felt silly just doing motions in the middle of our living room by herself. But it does show little shots like this that have the other students that she's talking to. And all of them are doing the motion, so that really helped my daughter to feel like she was a part of the class. And okay, I'm not the only one that's doing this. So it helped her eventually get more comfortable doing the motions. And I would highly suggest, even if you have to sit there and do the motions with your child, because it really helps them retain the information a lot easier. And then so throughout, she'll get a little further into the skit and she asks for volunteers to come help act out the certain scene. And so students will come up and act out the certain scene. And so, she has this one little skit she goes through, but she adds pieces at a time and reviews it before she moves on. So they're hearing the vocabulary multiple times throughout the lesson. It's not like, here's a vocabulary word, and then here's a story. So it's really good. It's a total language immersion. She speaks majority Spanish. So at first it's hard to follow, but the more she speaks it and uses the motions, the more you're understanding what she's saying, which is kind of, I think, the whole point of these classes. And I've heard that that's the best way to learn a language, especially if you're going to move to a foreign country. Instead of learning these random vocabulary words, you learn the whole language. So this is basically what she's doing. And then at the end of the skit, she goes through and she asks questions, kind of like a quiz. And so she has these posters up on the wall, and she'll ask a question about the skit and have the students answer. And so I did notice the students are often holding a little packet like she's holding in her hand. I'm not sure if that has the story on it or what it has on it. But I do know there are workbooks available to purchase. Also, we did not receive the workbooks, but I think especially if I had a high schooler going through this course, I would probably purchase the workbooks just to have more of a visual. At our age, she's 7. I think just hearing the language was beneficial for her. I don't think she was to the point of understanding enough to do a workbook. But I think if I had an older student, I would definitely look into getting the workbooks. And there's this thing called Quizlet online, and she has all of the Accelerate Spanish lessons on here, which was amazing. We utilized this a lot. There's flashcards, there's games, there's quizzes, there's all kinds of things to help you with each lesson. And so we utilized this a lot. It was very helpful. So I would highly suggest using that even if you don't have the workbooks, and it's completely free to use. So even though we used level 1, I peeked ahead into level 2 just to kind of see the differences. And like I said before, the lessons are around 45 minutes, so they're a little longer lessons. It's the same style. She teaches a story, and she uses TPR motions throughout the whole story. It did look like the vocabulary was a little harder. More of it, I noticed her erasing the board a couple of times and adding more vocabulary. So it was more than just one word, one board worth of vocabulary for the story. And she moved a lot faster. So those are the main differences I noticed, but the setup of the class was the same. Just as expected, a higher level meant more speaking and at a quicker pace. So you have 2 options. You can buy this curriculum as a whole, the DVDs and stuff, or you can do the online streaming, which is what we had access to. And I really enjoyed the online streaming because it meant, no DVDs to deal with and possibly break, easy access whenever you wanted. And even though the lessons were 30 minutes, she suggests, going at your own pace. And the program is designed for ages 7 to adult. So we were at the very lowest end of that at 7 years old. So we broke the lessons into about 10 to 12 minute chunks at a time. And even that 10 to 12 minutes, we often had to repeat just because it moved so quickly and we have absolutely no experience with the language. But I did notice my daughter picked up on several things, which really surprised me. So I think if you are serious about learning a language, the style that she uses, the whole language approach, and the TPR is really beneficial. And I definitely intend on continuing to use this program.
So I'm going to put the links down below so you can check out the website for yourself. And there's also going to be a link that you can follow to check out all the other review crew members, their reviews, and see what they thought. So let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.
I received a free copy of this product through the Homeschool Review Crew in exchange for my honest review. I was not required to write a positive review, nor was I compensated in any other way. All opinions I have expressed are my own or those of my family. I am disclosing this in accordance with the FTC regulations.